Hey Austin, Nick Rao here with Driftwood Builders Roofing, and today we're going to talk about, does my roof need to be repaired or fully replaced? And to be honest, is a question we frequently get asked, and it's also a very controversial hot topic as repairs cost significantly less than full replacements. And so as a roofing company business owner, our business model is very simple. At a high level, we do three things. The first is free inspections, which you obviously lose money on because we spend time and gas, but don't charge anything. The second is repairs, which, to be honest, make a little bit of money, but not that much unless it's a big tile roof or a complex metal roof or such a situation like that. And then the third thing we do is full roof replacements, which to be honest, is where we make 80 to 90% of our profit. So there's a very big ethical dilemma here as a roofing company business owner, but we also want to do the right thing for our customers, which is what we always do. Usually that's suggesting a repair, but sometimes the best solution for customers is to suggest a full roof replacement. So today I'm going to go over everything customers should know as it pertains to repairs versus replacement. And the number one thing I want to keep in mind is timing. So let's get started. So at a high level, the question that we want to ask is not, can it be fixed? The question we want to ask is, will the fix actually solve a problem long term? So typically repairs are the best solution when the roof is newer and not that old, and the problem can be isolated to one single area that can pretty easily be fully repaired, and then we don't have to deal with it for a while. Now, for replacement is often the best solution when the roof is near the end of its life and there are multiple parts of the roof that are damaged. And in that situation, we usually recommend a full roof replacement instead of a repair. So when a repair usually makes sense is when the roof is relatively young and otherwise performing well. The problems in the roof are limited to one area that can easily be fixed, such as a few missing shingles or maybe one pipe jack that needs to be replaced. Just small stuff like that can extend the roof's useful life. So here are some examples of clients that we had where we recommended a repair and not a full roof replacement. So the situation was a customer who lives in Clarksville, close to Terrytown, had the roof leak after the rain. And so we went out there and I took these pictures from the inside of the house. And then Guillermo, our crew leader, and I climbed up on the top of that roof, and we saw that this reason why the ceiling was leaking is because the sealant around this pipe jack was worn down and deteriorated. So in this situation, our recommendation was to reseal the pipe jack and charge a customer $800, and that would permanently fix the problem. Now, as a roofing company owner, I would have loved to charge a customer $20,000 for a new metal roof, but that's not the right thing to do. So we only charge them $800 for a small repair in this situation. So this situation was for an asphalt shingle roof in Terrytown. Our customer called us because their ceiling started to leak after the recent rain. So I went to their house, climbed in their attic, climbed up on the roof, and diagnosed that the problem was the pipe vent was incorrectly installed. So our solution here was to reinstall the pipe vent and fix the roofing around that, so the next time it rains, their ceiling won't leak again. Now, with this roof, it was about 15 years old, so it's getting up there in age. However, I told the customer, you probably have around 5 more years until it needs to be replaced. So in this situation, we're going to just suggest a repair. So pertaining to repairs, the most common issues we see are pipe boots and vents that need to be fixed, flashing issues, some hissing shingles in isolated locations, some small storm impacts, valleys and transitions, and nail pop-ups and sealant failures. These are the top 6, but it depends on the roof, and we've seen a lot of different ones as well. Now, there are situations where a full roof replacement makes more long-term sense for customers than just a repair. Now, typically these situations are when the roof is older and nearing the end of its useful life, and the problem with the roof can be seen in multiple areas, which makes repair expensive. So sometimes we do recommend full roof replacements over repairs. And a recent example is we had a customer downtown South Austin who was recommended to us. And we went over there and her roof was 22 years old and it was failing in multiple places. And so we did our estimate, and to repair that roof would cost $8,000, but to fully replace the roof would cost $12,000. And so in that situation, we suggested a full roof replacement because as the roof is 22 years old, if we repaired it, then what would have happened is the customer would have spent $8,000 now to repair the roof. And then a couple years down the road, they would have had to pay to fully replace the roof, which a couple years from now, I'm sure it will be a lot more than $12,000. So in that situation, we recommend to the customer, listen, your roof needs to be fully replaced. We can repair it if you want to, but we highly recommend you pay $12,000 now, and then you won't have to worry about it for the next 20 years. And they took our advice and replaced the roof, and it went great. Now, back to the age of the roof is the number one most important variable. So on average, asphalt shingle roofs in Austin, Texas last around 15 to 20 years. So if your roof is less than 7 years old, the 99% chance you don't need to get it replaced. If it's in the 18 to 14, typically you don't need to get it replaced. But if it's over 15 years, then the probability that you need to get your roof replaced is significantly higher. The analogy we always give customers is it's like ball tires on a car. Sometimes you just have to replace them. Now, let's talk about repairs versus replacements as it pertains to storm damage and insurance coverage. So typically we see repairs when there's a really big windstorm and the strength of the wind just rips off a couple asphalt shingles on a newer roof. And in those situations, we just repair it, which is what happened to my house 3 years ago. However, replacements usually we see when there's a huge hailstorm and hail damages the roof, and then we climb on top of the roof and we're able to find significant hail damage. The customer files their insurance claim, and then insurance usually pays for the roof. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. However, the most important thing to keep in mind is that a roofing contractor's diagnosis is completely separate from the insurance claim diagnosis. So you should always ask your roofer for lots of detail and lots of documentation. Now, let's talk about repairs versus replacements and specifically their cost. Whether you're repairing or replacing your roof, it's a very big decision that you should spend a lot of time thinking about. For most homeowners in the United States, around 70% of their equity is in their home. And as the roof protects the home, whether you should repair or replace your roof is a very big investment decision. Now, the number one factor I talked about is timing. Now, typically, if you have a newer roof with smaller issues, the best investment is just to repair your roof. So that way you won't have to spend money on your roof for the next 10-ish years. However, as it pertains to older roofs that are nearing the end of their useful life, a full roof replacement is typically the much better investment decision, as you only have to pay for a full roof replacement once, and then you don't have to worry about your roof for the next 15 to 20 years. Whereas if you just repair an old roof, you have to pay once to repair it, and then a couple years down the road, you're going to have to pay to fully replace that roof. Now, repairs and replacements have a lot of differences, but the one commonality is that due to the time value of money, the cost of both of them is only going to go up over time. Now, as it pertains to roofing contractors and repairs versus replacements, be very, very careful who you trust. Like I said, as a roofing company business owner, we make significantly more profit on full roof replacements than we do repairs. So regardless of what contractor you talk to, I highly suggest ask them for documentation. Roofers can never provide too much documentation. We also suggest you ask them for a detailed scope of work. And if a roofer does suggest a full roof replacement instead of a repair, you need to grill them and ask them, why specifically can you not repair my roof? What are the specific issues? And like I said, remember the age of the roof is a big factor. Now, as it pertains to whether your roof needs to be repaired or replaced, or maybe you don't need to do anything at all. To recap, here are the top 5 factors you should keep in mind. Number 1, how old is the roof? Number 2, is the damage isolated or is it widespread? Number 3, have there been repeated leaks or is this a one-time issue? Number 4, can a repair even be done? And number 5, documentation. Show me the Carfax. What does the documentation show? Now, as it pertains to repairs versus replacements, I know I've talked about timing and age a lot, and the timing and age of your roof is a huge factor. However, the number one factor that people need to think about is the timing and age of the roofing company that you choose to work with. Now, at the beginning of this talk, I talked about how the roofing company business model works. Just to recap, we do 3 things: inspections, repairs, and full roof replacements. Now, we do not make any money on inspections. In fact, we lose money since we spend time and gas, but don't charge for those. We make a little bit of money on repairs, but to be honest, not that much. But around 80 to 90% of the money we make in roofing pertains to full roof replacements. Now, there are over 1,000 roofing companies in Austin, but we can categorize them into 3 broad categories. The first is local family-owned operated companies like Driftwood Builders Roofing. We've been around for the last 21 years and will be around for the next 50. The second is private equity-backed roofing companies. Now, recently, private equity has been buying up roofing companies in Austin, Texas like crazy. JMR Sheet Metal is a great example. Now, the third type of roofing company is a chuck in a truck. A guy who doesn't have insurance, just getting started. A lot of times they come in from out of town during hailstorms, and that's the third type of roofing company. Now, let's go over why repairs versus replacements really matter as it pertains to timing. Like I said, we barely make any money off repairs, but we make 80 to 90% of our profit off full roof replacements. Now, I know I mentioned timing a lot as it pertains to the age of your roof and repairs versus replacements, but it's even more important as it pertains to the roofing contractor that you choose to work with. In roofing, it frequently happens that there's an ethical dilemma where a customer only needs to have the roof repaired and not replaced. And in those situations, roofing contractors obviously make a lot more money if they suggest a full roof replacement than a repair. However, timing is so huge because of this reason. So if a local business has been around for the last 21 years and plans to be around for the next 21, then from a business model standpoint, it makes sense to do the right thing and only suggest a repair. And here's why. Because since we're going to be around for the next 21 years, we can only suggest a repair, make a little bit of money off the repair, and then that customer is going to tell all their neighbors what a great job we did. And then 10 years later, when that customer needs to get the roof fully replaced, they're going to remember what a good job we did and how honest we are, and they're going to come back to us for a full roof replacement. It sometimes happens in the roofing industry where a customer only needs to have the roof repaired, and yet a roofing contractor suggests that they fully replace it so they can make a lot more money. And the number one reason why timing is such a big issue is because if contractors have been around for a long time and plan to be around for a long time, then that way they can suggest the repair, and not only is it the right thing to do, but it makes sense for their business model. If a business plans to be around for the next 20 years, when ethical dilemmas come up of whether we should suggest a repair versus replacement, if you plan to be here for the next 20 years, then suggesting a repair not only is the right thing to do, but it also makes sense from a long-term business model standpoint, because you can do the repair, make some money, and then do a great job. That customer is going to tell all their friends. And then in 10 years from now, when the customer needs to have the roof fully replaced, they're going to remember what a great job you did, and they're going to come back to you. Since Driftwood Builders has been in business for 21 years, we frequently see this happen. Now, I know a lot of people who work in private equity, and most of them are very good people. However, how the private equity business model works is they buy a business and then they work to improve that business for around 5 years. And then they try and sell that business at a much higher price than they bought it for. And so a lot of times in these repair versus replacement situations, if a private equity owned roofing company is in year 3 of their 5-year hold, then they know they're only going to own the company for the next 2 years, and they're not going to do the ethically right thing, and they're going to push for a full roof replacement when a customer only needs a repair. And then with trucks in a truck, they usually don't live in Austin. They mostly come in out of town. And so in those situations, they almost always suggest a full roof replacement instead of a repair because they're just trying to make a quick buck. Thank you so much for watching.